Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma, and my name is Julia. And today, the sentiment of metta I'd like to share with you is this one. And it reads, "May you breathe into the tight spaces within you. May you breathe into the tight spaces within you." Friends, I'd like to invite every one of you to enjoy a restful posture. So if you're in the sanctuary today, please take this opportunity to lie down. If that is available to you and if that's comfortable to you, please feel free to do so. If you want to get up and get a blanket and make yourself more at ease as part of your practice, go ahead. If you fall asleep during your practice, just as you wake up, just applaud yourself for giving your body such impeccable rest. On the journey of recovery, we almost never get enough rest. We almost never give the body the kind of restoration that it craves in order to heal. And so I'd like today's practice to really be one of settling in, just really indirectly receiving the wisdom that's going to come through these teachings today that I'm simply going to share with you. I'd like to begin our session with an apology. And I'd like to extend that apology to the entire Sangha and recognize that I was unskillful in my speech yesterday, and I'm sorry. I was talking about Shantideva, and I referred to the interpretation of this next chapter that we've been studying with a very flippant remark. And it was unnecessary and unskillful. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And I thought about why did I say that? Why did I just talk about it like blah, blah, blah? That's what I said. And it was such an adolescent, dismissive thing. And part of it is because we're going into a topic that is complex. And we're also stepping into an arena of spiritual practice that I find quite challenging, which is reading spiritual teachings when they are not applied to real life situations annoys me deeply. And I'm incredibly impatient by it and annoyed. And because of those two qualities, impatience and annoyance, what arose yesterday in describing this very complex idea was really immature. And so if that landed as anything crinkly or prickly in your mind, I'm so sorry about it. Because I really do want to talk about this next chapter, which is in the Shantideva book that we've been studying. I want to get the title right. It's called The Perfection of Wisdom. And he begins this chapter, and certainly the translation of this book, The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. He begins this chapter talking about emptiness. And emptiness is a really difficult idea. And, you know, when I think about monks and monastics and scholars contemplating emptiness, and they have all their simple needs and basic needs met: housing, food, clothing. They are so out of touch with people who are struggling, maybe trying to survive on the streets, people who have been brutalized and abused, enormously traumatized, people who are suffering under the weight of very serious negative habit energy. So there's this aspect of this particular teaching that's really out of touch. And so I get frustrated by that. And I've been contemplating it all morning as a motivation for me to make it relevant, to make it accessible for everyday contemporary life. How can we think about emptiness as a modern person trying to understand my relationship to negative habit energy? So I turned to two books that I really like. One is this one by Pema Chodron. This is called No Time to Lose, and it's a timely guide to the way of the Bodhisattva. Highly recommend this book. It's a big book. This is what I call a table read. Don't bring this to bed. Read this at your kitchen table. And read it slowly. The other one is the Transforming Adversity, and this is the 37 Practices of the Bodhisattva, and it's edited by Venerable Chodron, who's near us in Sravasti Abbey, and it's written by Geshe Jampa Tegchok, who I believe is the translator of this book as well. And I'd like to share with you his meditation on emptiness. And why emptiness and this particular contemplation is necessary to gain access to wisdom. Another word for emptiness that at least is helpful to me is the word spaciousness or space. Emptiness is the space in which everything arises. Emptiness is not a place of no-thingness. While it's empty, it's also full of every single thing that's arising. So in the space of emptiness, everything comes forward, and we begin to realize that everything I do, everything I say, everything I wear, everything I eat is connected to something else. And how that's relevant in the world of recovery is, let's just take the word trigger or the word craving, and let's boldly go to that edge. And we can do that because we're in a safe space. In this moment, we're sitting in a community. We're in a beautiful sanctuary. You online are in your homes or in your cars, and you're using these electronic devices that have been touched by thousands of people. The development of this technology has taken many decades and many tens of thousands of people. We are connected to so much just by being in this moment using these computers. And it's only with the cultivation of some space that I can see those connections emerging. So say I have a craving, say I have a trigger. There are a lot of people in the world of recovery who are triggered by all kinds of things. Prescription bottles, specific stores, streets, colors, certain scents. And when those things arise, they trigger, they activate something else, a memory, a thought, a story, a feeling in the body, some kind of neurochemical reactivity And suddenly the body is craving a substance, a behavior, an impulsive reaction. But none of that would happen without those other things arising, without that space to see those things arising. And so the contemplation of emptiness is to take a minute to put everything down and to come into this moment. In this moment, we're sitting or lying down and we're breathing. That's it. And whether a memory arises, we can tell that memory to calm down. We'll explore that later. And then we have a little bit of space. And in that space, in that emptiness, maybe a thought emerges. Maybe the thought is a negative thought, like, wow, this meditation stuff is really weird and kind of hard. And maybe you're tempted to go with that. And you can tell that thought, you can have a rest. We're going to put that thought down and return to some space. And maybe in this next moment of space, you feel an ache in your hip or your shoulder. And you can put that down over and over and over again. And so by contemplating this space, by contemplating this emptiness, by putting all of these other actions and activities down, the body begins to calm. The thoughts begin to slow down. And the possibility for something new begins to emerge. Geshe writes, nothing can ever be found that is self-existent or that exists by itself independently of another phenomena. Whatever appears to the mind, both inner objects related to sentient beings' minds and outer objects in the environment, is merely labeled by mind. The mind which labels, we find that it too is free from elaborations of the two extremes of true existence and total non-existence. Let me give you an example. He writes, when a table, for example, appears to our visual consciousness, it appears as if it existed from its own side. The mind to which the table appears to exist from its own side, in this case, the visual consciousness that apprehends the table, is not the concept of true existence. Let me explain. So you see a table, and the mind labels it a table, and the mind may even judge it. Pretty table, short table, crummy table, ragged table, artistic table, whatever. But the point is that if you can create some space around it, you begin to see that the table didn't arise out of nowhere. If it's made out of wood, that table was once a tree. That tree communicated with other trees. That tree needs the same things you and I need: sunlight, food, water, air. That tree actually cleans the air that I need. And so this table that was once a tree was actually helping me breathe. So a table isn't just a table. And you can only get at that understanding. You can only arrive at that wisdom and see those connections by taking time to put down the labels, put down the obvious perspectives, and look deeper. And then, if you really want to contemplate emptiness, you put it all down if you can. Today, to make this practical, I want to do a very simple reflection, a very simple meditation. And we're going to create a little bit of space, a little bit of emptiness. So, the first thing to do is to turn your attention in a really friendly way. Like, tell yourself to be friendly, tell yourself to be kind. And breathe. That's it. It's as simple as that. Breathe in, calm the body, and breathe out and create some space. And just slow the breath down. Breathe in nice and slow. Take your time. And when you get to the top of the breath, top of the inhalation, pause for a little bit. Pause for a second or two. Hold your breath. Really come into that breathing. And then when you exhale, let it all out, but let it out in a controlled way. Be patient, be slow. Notice your belly rising and falling. And then when you exhale all that air, pause for another moment. Just hold it there. And then inhale again. You can add sound if you want to. One of the most unskillful, unkind, and unwise notions popularized in the realm of recovery is stigmatizing human beings and labeling them in such a way that they become their behaviors. So anything that I've done that I regret and anything that I've done that's been unskillful or bad, now suddenly I'm bad. The whole of me is bad. And it is a gross falsehood. When we cultivate emptiness and when we cultivate space, we can begin to see the arisings of unskillful, unethical, confused, negative behaviors. But if we focus our attention only there, that's all we're going to see. Furthermore, we're going to go looking for it. to prove, see, I really am this horrible person. I have this evidence and that evidence and this and that and this and that and this and that. All the while, goodness that is in every single human being as well is ignored, denied, rejected. I would be willing to bet that most of us are very good. We have a lot of practice in identifying our regrettable ways of being. And we need a little bit of practice identifying those qualities within each of us that are generous, conscientious, patient, joyful, focused, and wise. These, my friends, are something in Buddhism called the far reaching attitudes or the far reaching qualities: generosity, patience, conscientiousness, joy, focus, concentration, and wisdom. This is in every single human being. The seeds of those qualities exist in me and they exist in you. The only difference is how much these seeds have been nurtured and watered. And that's what we're here to do in this Buddhist practice, is to nurture seeds of generosity and patience, wisdom and concentration, joy, skillfulness, love, compassion, and so on. So we have to turn our gaze, that habitual gaze, away from some of the negativity and focus on what are my qualities that are positive and good. What are some good things that I do? Can I name one? And that's the invitation for your meditation today. In the space that we have created today, can you allow arising from that space something good that you can see in yourself? Something calm. And we do this to balance out the negative, and then drop all of it. And just remember, I am a whole human being, just like everyone else. And I'm going to breathe very, very simply to keep making space so that I don't go wayward in one direction or another. I stay centered. Friends, this particular contemplation is the recognition of bodhicitta. And bodhicitta is simply a soft heart that knows its aches, that knows its wounds, and that aspires to heal. And so Thich Nhat Hanh used to end some of his meditations by bringing the hands up to prayer pose at the level of the heart. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Bowing to the sacredness of each of us, Buddhas to be. Let's go ahead and end our practice with a dedication of merit. And this I'd like you to be nice and active for. So sit nice and tall. In fact, see if you can bring into your body the tallest version of yourself, noble. Straight back, soft belly, shoulders rolled back a little bit, heart lifted. This is the pose of Sada, heart led. Faith, confidence. Shantideva was an 8th century monk, and we are still studying his wisdom. And there was a beautiful dedication that he encouraged, and that is to imagine at the level of your heart a warm, radiant light, like a sun, even. And that sun is not only entering at the level of the heart, but it's actually pouring outward in every direction from you. The goodness of you, the badness of you makes this bright, brilliant light. Don't be afraid to shine it. And if it feels comfortable to you, you can put your hand or your hands at the level of the heart, which I'm doing. Left hand on my heart, right hand on my left. And the words of Shantideva's dedication are these: for as long as suffering exists, and for as long as sentient beings exist, may I too remain to help dispel the misery of the world. Remember, friends, your world includes you. So anytime we endeavor to dispel misery within our own lives, within the world of our own lives, we by extension help lessen the misery of everyone else. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for bringing your wisdom. Thank you for bringing your brightness and leaving such a beautiful impression in this space, in this community, and in our minds and hearts. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time, maybe even as soon as tomorrow. Namaste.